Before this video starts, I just want to say thank you so much for the support in the last videos. It means the world to me, and I hope that you keep enjoying the videos. Thank you to everyone out there, and without further ado, let's get into the video. Hello and welcome everyone to a brand new series I'd like to call Teaching Tragedy 101. In this series, we're going to look at many different characters within film and TV shows and talk about how the character is very well written within the element of tragedy involved. We will compare characters with great aspects of tragedy with characters that are similar in their roles but not so great with the aspect of tragedy itself. This series will also give love to background characters who I believe deserve them and not always get that love. Some popular universes in which we will see characters come from are Star Wars, Harry Potter, Marvel, DC, and this is a long list and it'll go on for on and on. Now to today's main topic. What if I told you of a movie series that everyone knows so well was actually considered a tragedy? I'm going to describe what it means to be a tragedy, and I'll give you a couple of seconds to guess what franchise I'm describing. So a tragedy by definition is a play dealing with tragic events and having an unhappy ending, especially one concerning the downfall of the main character. Okay, so with that definition, let's go ahead and have you guys take a guess real quick. Really? Those are your guesses? I heard so many wrong ones. I heard Wonder, Avatar, and some guy in the back yelled a good old-fashioned orgy. The last one, maybe, but not really. No, not really. The correct answer is... yes, Star Wars. Now, depending on who you are and how you view Star Wars, you could either be surprised or completely disagree, or you could have seen the newest movies and agree, because, well, you have to after seeing the sequels. Now, for the latter, while the sequels are exactly that, a tragedy, we won't be discussing that today. That topic has been beaten like a dead horse over the years on YouTube, so I'm just going to stay out of it, unless I really need to get into it. Today, though, we will be looking at how Star Wars character building is something of a masterpiece. The prequels themselves are that of a tragedy, the story of Anakin Skywalker falling, and Darth Vader and the Empire rising, and the good guys losing. However, what if I told you that what makes Star Wars even better is almost that every character tragedy follows them? Now, before we get into examples, we must ask, is this necessary? Is it needed to world build and character build? Well, it depends on the basis of film. Star Wars are war movies. Regardless of how you see them, they are movies about war. It's in the name. War creates tragedy at all corners of the maps it takes place on. War is a virus, and tragedy is a sickness that poisons the people it affects. Now, let's begin and dive into some characters within Star Wars that tragedy has infected. We will start by looking at the smaller side characters throughout the series, and then moving up the ladder of importance. We do this to talk about characters that don't often get talked about enough, while also spotlighting how well Star Wars writes characters with motivations that make sense even if they're not the main character. We first look at the clones within the Clone Wars. Having the name of the war is a pretty significant thing. Clones were never given a choice to be anything in this universe. They were made to fight into a war they knew nothing but what they were programmed to know. And yes, who does that sound a lot like? Using clones is a beautiful juxtaposition with the droids. You can debate they're not programmed, but they are. They have a chip in their head. They have to follow orders. That's how it goes. Everyone views droids as motionless pieces of metal made to fight like soldiers, even though on the other side of the war, they are being made and processed to fight with the exact same motive. They are bred like cattle and treated like cattle. They're trapped on Kamino and less in battle. They are only addressed by numbers unless a high-ranking officer. If not training, they are sleeping in cramped barracks that are uncomfortable. This isn't the kind of army you see in Top Gun. No. This is a factory where they produce soldiers. These soldiers weren't fed food, but a gray paste that has no taste at all, but is purely meant for nutrient. The ones selected to leave Kamino for war weren't treated any better. They would be shipped from battle to battle, nights without sleep or food. What Star Wars does a great job of doing is grabbing your attention and having a connection between these characters who you don't think have much meaning at all in the war, and giving them meaning. Because of the great show that is the Clone Wars, there are now iconic characters that come from that show and iconic deaths, such as 99, for example. 99 being an older, hunchback looking clone who is usually doing janitorial work until tragically dying when Kamino is attacked. And then of course Fives. Fives is an incredible character that almost anyone who's seen the Star Wars Clone Wars could tell you about how much he meant to the series and how incredibly tragic his death was. The Clone Wars and the clones themselves are just one example of how well Star Wars treats tragedy and how well it brings it into its universe. Looking at another example of background characters who may not be written as well with the element of tragedy, would come from Harry Potter in the sense of Death Eaters. Death Eaters are the followers of Voldemort within the movie series. Not many of them, if any of them, are fleshed out at all other than Draco, and Draco doesn't count because he's kind of forced into it by his father. You could count Snape, but in the sense that he's part of the group, not that his loyalty lies within Voldemort. And he's his own character, not really associated with the Death Eaters, and I don't think many people could disagree with that. The Death Eaters themselves, though, lack a lot of character development. You know very little about any of them other than that they're evil, they follow evil man and do evil things, they are also wizard racist. That's all you really know. And yes, while they're the bad guys of background characters compared to the clones that were the good guys, that character development really helps in the sense that why not give even the smallest bit of detail on why they believe the way they do, rather than they're just evil, you gotta deal with that. Especially failing to have tragedy within these background characters hurts it, as just as Star Wars is a movie series about wars, so is Harry Potter. You can say it's not, you can say it's the story of Harry Potter himself, but then I could say the same thing that it's the story of Anakin Skywalker. It doesn't matter, it's still within a war. One's just in space and one's a wizarding war. Both are wars, tragedy happens in within both. Why does it get talked about only for the good side and not the other? It makes no sense, and it's a very elementary way of saying good versus evil, which Star Wars prides itself on not doing, especially putting this in depth into the prequels. The entire prequel trilogy evolves around that fact that it is not just good versus evil anymore, and that is Anakin's character development. I know I went very off tangent with the clones, but I do think the clones versus the Death Eaters are a decent example of how tragedy and even just small background development really helps build a universe and tells both sides of a story. Thank you all for watching episode 1 of Teaching Tragedy 101. I hope you enjoy, and I hope to get more of these out soon. Thank you again for all the support, and as always, have a great day.